Good afternoon, family. Welcome to another video. It's going to be part 2 of the video I did before this, talking about President Warren G. Harding and him possibly being assassinated at the Palace Hotel in San Francisco. Okay. Now, San Francisco has a very occult history that most people don't know anything about. Okay. Of course, we know that along with New York or Manhattan, which is the New Atlantis, California, specifically San Francisco, is Babylon. Okay, with New York, Manhattan being Egypt. So. Excuse me, I'm being bothered by a fly. I believe he was assassinated for many reasons, and I'm going to go into those reasons right now, okay? When he was elected, or even before he was elected, Warren G. Harding was anti-League of Nations, which was being pushed by President Woodrow Wilson, who we know was a puppet of the Illuminati, who pushed the 1913 Federal Reserve Banking Act, and now he started to push the League of Nations that Warren G. Harding was against before he was elected president, and even after he became elected president. Okay, and even after he became elected president, he was also against a few other things that I think might have gotten him killed. Okay, I'm going to be reading from my notes here, so bear with me. After Harding was elected, he chose a pro-League of Nations person, Charles Evans Hughes, who was a former Supreme Court Justice. He chose this pro-League guy as his Secretary of State, signing, really ignoring the advice from Senator Cabot Lodge and others. Also, Warren G. Harding didn't establish any trade or recognition of the 1917 to 1922 Bolshevik Russia. Of course, we know those are the Ashkenazim Jews who overthrew the Tsar in Russia in the so-called 1917 Bolshevik Revolution. Okay, Harding didn't do any trade with them, or didn't recognize their government either. Okay, now remember, the Ashkenazim, that's one of the 3 heads of the dragon. Okay, and of course, this is one of the things that got him into trouble. Okay, and also what Warren G. Harding did, reduce expenditure on defense, which again is turning against the military, industrial, and space complex, which would get him into trouble. Okay, and also U.S. troops withdrawn from Cuba, protecting American interests in 1921, of course, pissing off a certain segment of the business establishment in the United States. Okay. Also, he granted Colombia $25 million as a settlement for the U.S. provoked Panamanian Revolution of 1903. Okay, it was called the Thompson-Urrutia Treaty. Okay, so that's another big one. You know what I'm saying? Paying Colombia off for the loss of Panama in a revolution that they created. Okay, so that they could take over Panama and do a lot of the things that they're doing now since that time. Okay, so we know that supposedly Warren G. Harding suddenly died at the Palace Hotel, room 8064, which if you add those numbers up together, they equal to 18, which is 666. It was on the 8th floor presidential suite overlooking Market Street. Okay. And now here is their covert messages after Warren G. Harding was killed in 1945. The Palace Hotel, the same hotel where he mysteriously died, hosted a banquet to mark the opening session of the United Nations. Now, the United Nations is the organization that came into being after the failed League of Nations. Okay, so that they're once again sending a message. Okay. So backtracking on the history a little bit, before Warren G. Harding was killed, which they say he died of a stroke, but I mean, come on now. We know there's many ways to make people induce into strokes and things of that nature. I mean, the three groups of the dragon has a historical history of using drugs and all kinds of things, even the occult, to bring about stroke and heart attacks and even attacking with cancers and things of that nature. So in 1919, Woodrow Wilson, he gave a speech in the Garden Court in support of the Treaty of Versailles and the League of Nations. Okay, in here's another code letting you know this is the end game, closing the chapter on the Warren G. Harding incident at the Palace Hotel using Hollywood. Okay. In 1997, the finale of the David Fincher film The Game, starring Michael Douglas, was shot in the hotel's Garden Court. Okay. So, that's the end game. That's letting you know right there, using Hollywood, the finale of the film The Game, starring Michael Douglas, was shot in the same hotel. So that's the closing of the whole ceremony or ritual for the killing of President Warren G. Harding. Okay. Now it's interesting too that the Palace Hotel hosted President William McKinley in 1901, and he was subsequently assassinated sometime after that. So the Palace Hotel, San Francisco and its occult history, along with the Bohemian Grove, which I say is is Babylon, along with New York, which I say is was Egypt, from New York to Charleston, South Carolina, which brought the majority of the Bantu slaves into the Americas. Okay, and then of course with the peninsula in Mexico, which encompasses Cancun, is Nineveh, Assyria. So all three of these major nations that enslaved the Yasharal, the Israelites, so-called Israelites, or at least spiritual, are found in the Americas. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this series, and stay tuned for the next video, where I'm going to be talking about what we are witnessing now in the American political arena with the fights between Donald Trump and Nancy Pelosi, the Democrats versus the Republicans, and of course the Ashkenazim are in that as well. It's exemplified in the marriage of Donald Trump's daughter Ivanka with her husband. Okay, I'm going to be exposing how all of this is just order out of chaos, and at the end, or their intended end, is going to be a synthesis of these three groups, the three satanic political groups together, who are already ruling America. Okay, so stay tuned for that video. Until then, enjoy the rest of your day, and shalom.